Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast. It's going to be a pretty interesting one. There's been a lot of crazy stories and just really interesting realizations that have been happening recently in the news, just and in life in general. And I think everyone is kind of waking up now. I mean, I've been just talking to a lot of different interesting people, and the majority of people that I meet, at least, have some type of problem with how things are going with the Biden administration. And I'm not just coming out with like just bad news only, but yeah, but this is actually good news because it means that people are actually realizing what's going on. So I'm happy about that. And the first story we're going to talk about is this interesting story. When I saw it, I was like, this sounds crazy. It says humans could erase unhappy memories with groundbreaking neurotechnology. So this is pretty crazy. So they're saying that you could erase unhappy memories. I feel like I don't think they perfected this, but I would like to see like people who tried it and then see if they're just like the same person afterwards, or do they have just like some severe memory loss or something weird. But it sounds pretty crazy. Like if you can just legit delete memories, I don't know how you exactly find it, but this is what they said: a radical new technique to target and erase painful memories has raised huge ethical problems, says a leading neurologist, because it threatens to artificially change a person's personality. The memory editing technique, which is called decoded neurofeedback or DECNEF, was created for the treatment of PTSD. It uses an electromagnet similar to an MRI scanner to measure various changes in the brain, such as the level of oxygen in the blood. The data gathered by the scanner is sent in real time to an artificially intelligent imagine learning agent that maps which areas of the brain are active when particular memories are stimulated. Okay, so I don't know if it's deleting bad memories or it's deleting how you feel about them, like detaching emotion from a certain memory. I guess deleting those pathways, but interesting. I kind of get how it works, but it just sounds very, I don't know. It's not like crazy or bad or anything. It's just like if you're gonna do this, then you must be going through a lot of stress over whatever you're remembering, and you're just like, I would rather not feel the way I do when I remember these things. And that would be it would be a really personal decision, but I don't personally think this is evil unless they were like pushing this out there as like legit treatment. I think this is like a last resort type thing that people would definitely have to seek out or something. I don't know. Maybe people just want to delete their memories, but I don't know. Would you be the same afterwards? And just what happens later on in life when you're like 60, 80, 90? Like, do you just you just like just turn into a vegetable or something? But continuing, it says Aurelio Cortez, a computational neuroscientist and principal investigator of the ATR Computational Neuroscience Labs, told Inverse a that the AI component is vital to understanding what's going on in the human brain. Machine learning is used to learn the neural representation of the target mental representation in the first place, he said. This machine learning decoder is then used in the neurofeedback procedure to detect the activation patterns and compute the likelihood that it corresponds to a target pattern. Interesting. I mean, how accurate is this? Like, I was watching the Neuralink represent the what do they call it presentations, and they were talking about how even though it's the same motion, the brain will change basically the pathways that it uses to use the same motion. Like just pushing your hand out, it's not always the same pushing your hand out. Like it feels to you like you just know what you're doing. You're just pushing your hand out, but your brain is using different pathways every time in whatever configuration it deems is the right one to get you to do that action that you want to do. So it's not just always just like the same, like 1 2 = 3. No, it sometimes it's different. So I don't know how accurate this would be. It's just like it seems as though there would be a vast amount of things that you're trying to remember, or things that make you feel a certain emotion, and you'll just like it just won't exist. Just I think this is like removing emotion, like, or empathy at least. I mean, you can't even be like you can't even look over or review your whole own life in a way that's critical, like a bad thing you did or a bad thing that happened. You can't see what good came of it or what bad came of it. It'll just, I don't know. I guess, will you forget, or will it still be a memory, but it just causes no bad feelings? I mean, this is very interesting. I would like to see. I would like to hear from somebody who actually did this and have like a documentary of like 6 months of their life before and 6 months of their life after, and do like an in-depth, like, day to day, be just like interviewing the people who this person's met and seeing if they notice any differences, monitoring personal habits. Like, if I was doing a study and I was a scientist on this stuff, that's what I would be doing, because it just seems like this is going to augment somebody drastically. It says the memories aren't deleted, okay, in the same way we delete unwanted documents from a computer. Cortese stresses that DECNEF teaches the patient to control and suppress the brain's natural response. In 2018, researchers at the University of California, Berkeley announced that they had taken the first steps towards using holographic projection into the brain to switch individual neurons or potentially entire areas containing thousands of neurons. That technique would enable them to cut and paste activity from one part of the brain into another, fooling the brain into thinking it has felt, seen, or sensed something that has never happened. That's crazy. Like, okay, now this is like next level The Matrix type activity here. Basically saying that they can map sensations or thoughts or emotions or whatever tied to your brain, like your neurons, and copy and paste it from one part of the brain to another, fooling the brain into thinking it has felt, seen, or sensed something that has never happened. That's pretty amazing. I think that's incredible. This opens the doorway to a lot of things. I watch anime, so Sword Art Online. Like, this is always the thing I think about when people talk about things like this. I'm like, this is legit Sword Art Online. Just, it's gonna be crazy. Next story. It says French police find 78% of unaccompanied migrant children are actually adults. So it says in October 2015, 1,200 migrants with beards entered Stockholm, Sweden in a single day, claiming to be refugee children. I mean, this is too funny. Like, this is amazing. I don't know if this is troll or if this is real news, because this is hilarious. Like, this is so funny if somebody is actually trying to do this on purpose. Like, they come here and they say they're children. Are they legit? Like, if I walked up to one of these guys and was like, hey, how old are you? Are they gonna be like, I'm 5? Just look at me in my face with a full beard. I'm 5 years old. Let me in. Just like, is that what it's gonna be like? And it says the migrants are carrying signs begging locals for assistance for child refugees. Okay, in Austria, in 2016, officials found that half of refugees claiming to be children were adults. That makes sense. And it says in Sweden, 2017 officials found that 83% of refugee children were actually adults. The dentist behind the study was fired after releasing his results. In 2019, a German study found that at least 40% of migrants claiming to be children were actually adults. And now French police have found 78% of unaccompanied children are actually... So there's really no kids, and that kind of makes sense because these journeys are kind of treacherous. Like, you're going miles and miles on foot. Being with children, it would take forever to even do anything. So it makes sense that most of these are full adults, and I mean, what the hell? They're just lying a lot. So it says the Paris Police Prefecture has thus set up an innovative system. The fingerprints of those arrested are sent via the Central Directorate of the Judicial Police and the Directorate of International Cooperation to the Algerian, Moroccan, and Tunisian authorities, which check their own files. Paris then receives a response within 4 to 8 weeks. 15 months after the implementation of this procedure, Le Figaro published an interesting result. Out of 1,162 requests, the DSPAP has already received 330 formal identifications, establishing that 263 of the individuals are adults. That means that 70% of those so-called foreign minors lied about their age. Wow. That's pretty crazy. So the migrants have strong incentive to lie as well, including more lenient criminal sentences for minors as well as better benefits from the state. Authorities also have a far harder time reporting a minor than a child. Numerous studies have shown that the migrants lie about their age across Europe, including in Germany, Sweden, Belgium, and France. Now, having a more detailed understanding of the phenomenon, Parisian police say that they will continue to work on identifications through the new system. That's pretty crazy. Just understanding the full scope of this. This is very closely the same thing that's happening in the American southern border. So I would hope people just pay attention to stories like this, because it really shows basically what everybody's been talking about. There are portions of the migrant population, of course they're not saying all of them, but a large portion of them that are seeking asylum not based on the set requirements for seeking asylum in a country like America. They're not under like siege, or their government is not like trying to hurt them. They're not oppressive or anything. They're not fleeing in danger of their life. It's purely economical migration, and that's totally fine. The only problem with is that they're breaking into the country. That's the only problem. Like that's the whole thing. It's just illegal for many reasons. Like, for instance, if you try to go to Mexico, they're gonna have a problem. They're gonna be like, "Why are you here, American?" They're not gonna be like, "Hey, friend, do whatever you want to do. We have also a bunch of benefits for you, and if you have children, you instantly are a citizen." It's just like, what is going on here? What is actually going on? So the next story. History made. The Democrat BLM war on police and war on civil society resulted in 25% more U.S. homicides in 2020. Here are the results. In April 2020, Democrats, Black Lives Matter, Hollywood, NBA, the tech giants, and major U.S. corporations launched their official war on police across the United States. The consequences of their actions have been devastating, resulting in 1,990 more homicides in urban centers this past year. The Democrat war on civil society resulted in a 33% increase in homicides across the major urban centers across the United States. So that's crazy. I don't know if I could say all of these homicides are like solely based on BLM, but I would say probably a good like 10 to 15% of this is probably increased by BLM, just because their rhetoric as well as their boldness to incite violence. It's like a fever type activity where people see them being crazy and violent. Thus, they're like, okay, now the boundary of civil society is wavering. So now I can do what I want to do. So thus, being violent and irrational is an option. So I can understand how it would increase, just because nowadays BLM can do whatever they want and nothing happens to them. So why not? Why can't I? And it says the Major City Chiefs Association year-end violent crime survey saw 1,990 more murders in 2020 than in 2019. This is an absolutely horrendous number. It is completely the result of the Democrat Party war on civility and civil society. Here are the homicide numbers from the major urban centers across the U.S. in 2020. The red ink denotes an increase in homicides and crime. So this is a pretty insane graph here, and I can see why, like, the places they're picking. It's interesting. Well, that's pretty crazy. I mean, more people are definitely getting murdered. More people are definitely, like, Chicago, it went up by almost 400. That's crazy. That's crazy. How does almost 400 more murders in Chicago? That is incredible. Almost 200 in Houston. That is wow. These are some huge numbers. Los Angeles, almost it's basically 100 extra dead bodies in a year. This is incredible. This is outrageous. This is outrageous. Like, there's people are wilding out. Like, it's supposed to decrease every year or something. Like, that just means that these areas got way more violent. Like, if the previous year was horrible, like, Chicago is unreal. Like, this is unreal. They were going crazy. Oh my god, this is insanity. And then Baltimore is just atrocious for no reason. Oh my gosh. This is outstanding. This is crazy. This is really crazy. Wow. Wow. I'm blown away. I'm blown away. Wow. Wow. What in the world? This is crazy. Incredible. Next story. Swiss diplomat who represented Biden administration interests in Iran is found dead after falling from 17th floor balcony in Tehran. Interesting. Swiss diplomat Sylvie Brunner was found dead this week after falling from a 17th floor. This is crazy. Balcony in Tehran. She was first secretary of Swiss delegation and worked in the U.S. interest section. Neighbors heard a loud explosion late at night before her death. Her body was found in the garden the next morning. What in the world? world. According to the reports, Sylvie Brunner was called to Iran to testify about her knowledge of details of the American accounts who pocketed billions of dollars due to the bribes to lift sanctions against Iran. We cannot verify that report at this time. Swiss diplomat who was preparing to testify against the Biden family concerning bribes and sanctions towards Iran while pocketing money, found dead. That's an outstanding claim. But if this is truth, that's amazing and crazy. That sounds crazily like a drone strike. They said they found an explode. I mean, maybe not a drone strike. I don't know what it could be, because if they found her whole body intact, that's crazy. But they found her in the garden. So did she just like explode out of a window? Like, did her room explode and she just flew out? Or what happened? So this is pretty insane. I mean, wow. Wow. With Iranian authorities yet to announce their conclusion on the death of Sylvie Brunner, a 51-year-old Swiss diplomat in Tehran, Hamshahri newspaper was offered an account of her death that may feed speculation. Brunner, first Secretary of Swiss Embassy and Deputy of the United States Interior Section, fell from residence in a high-rise building Tuesday. Switzerland has for decades represented U.S. and Iranian interests in these two countries, which have had no diplomatic relations since 1980, when the revolutionary government in Iran failed to act to free American diplomats taken hostage by militant students. Iran International Newsroom Hamashiri offered a relatively full, if inclusive, account of Brunner's death in very broad terms. It concurs with a brief report from Mizan, news agency of Iran's judiciary, which reported Tuesday evening the diplomat fell from the 17th floor where she lived, and her body was found in gardens outside the building under her balcony. Brunner's body, Mizan said, had been taken to the coroner's office following an investigation of the scene in the presence of a judge, crime scenes expert. Okay. But Hamshahri had also reported residents of the tower hearing a loud noise and explosion 24 minutes after midnight on Tuesday, nearly 8 hours before Brunner's body was discovered. Hamshahri said a cleaner discovered the body and immediately informed the building's management. It quoted an expert from the coroner's office confirming death occurred 8 hours before the body was discovered. Wow. That is a interesting and insane story. It's like what to say about this. If this one claim about her concerning bribes and sanctions towards Iran while pocketing money found dead, this little, she said it was preparing to testify against the Biden family. If this portion of this is correct, then I don't know. I don't want to just assume motive, but that's pretty rough stuff. And this is just, what in the world? Really crazy. Cyber attack forces a shutdown of a top U.S. pipeline operator. A cyber attack forced the shutdown of one of the largest pipelines in the United States in what appeared to be a significant attempt to disrupt vulnerable energy infrastructure. The pipeline carries refined gasoline and jet fuel up the East Coast from Texas to New York. Wow. That is insane. I mean, the gas prices, this is outrageous. Like, me in my life, I have never seen anything like this, and I mean, just the cost of living now, it's just things are just getting more and more expensive, and there's no real assistance from the government in terms of finances for like the average Joe, really. um, because they're not doing anything to lessen the burden of society on just the regular person who's not like super rich. They don't even want to do things that are gonna help us, like in basic, just everyday to day life, like cheap gas. Cheap gas is not a bad thing, but their decisions make it more expensive and cause strife. And I would say potentially, with all these shortages going on and all this stuff going on, it potentially could cause even harm to people. I mean, it definitely is causing the economy to suffer, because now you have loss in the faith of the economy because the infrastructure is falling apart. And then you have the businesses paying crazy high random, not random, it's almost random, it's basically random to the business, because they're expecting years to be have an average. Just every year is going to be kind of similar. Then one year it just explodes. The gas prices go up like $2 in a couple months, and and then there's an actual shortage of gas to go around. So and then there's a vulnerability in the security of the infrastructure of the country. Like all of these things simultaneously going on, and there's no break for the regular person. It's just always about big government and just no solutions to any problems. They cause more problems than they're solving constantly. Like this makes no sense how this is even a thing. So the next thing to talk about is just like they're even talking about raising taxes and keeping taxes high, basically for the richer people, but also raising them on the middle class as well, because they need the money. Where are they going to get the money for all these silly things that they're talking about? And it's just no assistance to the regular person. And there's just this failure of leadership. I don't know how people just aren't more vocal about it, for one, and really don't like understand how serious this stuff can get, because people voted this guy in, and I highly doubt that this would happen if Trump was still in office. If Trump was still in office, I feel like there would be cheap gas, a lot of these restrictions around corona would be going down, and businesses would be getting back to normal, because everything would be at full capacity and everything would be open. The vaccine's here. Go ahead and take it if you want. If you don't, then you're bearing your own risk. If you want to wear a mask, then you wear a mask. If you don't, then don't. Everyone's responsible for their own health. So I think that's the approach that Trump would take, because it's been about time that we can't. Well, I can't continue to go on like this, because it's becoming almost like cultish, where you can't make your own decisions because the group doesn't want you to. So it's just crazy. I reported on the cyber attacks recently in my last videos, so go check those out, because those are very important, and they have exactly what they predicted this. Like I read a story that predicted this, like literally this, and it came true. So that's amazing, and it just shows how it's amazing. Like just instantly, it's a cyber attack that we were just basically defenseless against, and it happened. And now, are they getting better, or it's crazy. I don't even want to read this. It's just disheartening that things have gotten this crazy. The border's wide open. There's shortages of supplies in America. Prices of infrastructure and building supplies has gone up insanely. All those costs are going to be passed down to the consumer, which is us. If you want to buy a house, it's going to be expensive. Like, how does this make sense? Do people really not see how the suppression is working? It's top down, and it's blatant and in your face. Like, it does. It's not even like you need to be clever to understand how things are working. It's not even about intelligence. It's literally just logical, rational, critical thinking. Just think about what is happening. Think about what happens after what you want happens. Like, think about the future of your decision. Something's gonna happen after I open this door. Something's gonna not just be walking around life bumping into things. You can't just say, okay, Trump is out, put Biden in, and life will just magically get better. That doesn't make any sense, because compared to Trump's policy, this is a total absolute disaster. Next story. So I'm gonna play this video in the background, or I'll probably just play like snapshots of it. But this lady right here is an interesting individual, just because, I don't know, when you're watching the video, she just kind of seems like she's evil. I don't know, she just gives, I know she doesn't want to be there, and it's like a really weird experience, and it's like, wow. Like, I was trolling, she was trolling one of his reporters with some random guy, and they released and they like posted out some video that basically made it seem as though this lady was just, I guess she didn't like that when people do the exact same thing that James O'Keefe does to them, he does to people, that it's somehow legitimate to just do it, to basically make false claims, because that's what they did. They made false claims and chased this girl around. And James O'Keefe, he makes true claims and doesn't make things up, and that's the difference. But they were trying to do the same thing, but slander James O'Keefe at the same time. So she's sitting, I believe she's sitting in the same room as James O'Keefe, and he's talking to her. So it's just like, it's like really weird. But she just gives off this weird aura the entire video. But I highly recommend you see this video. So I'm probably gonna play some of it or play the whole thing during this. But I'll just talk about like points that stood out to me.
Miss Windsor, I'm gonna show you some videotape regarding an internship that Allison Moss had at Democracy Partners and related matters. Do you understand?
I do.
I want to play a clip at 5:16, please.
Here by yourself? You're just gonna leave you? O'Keefe's gonna leave you out here by yourself to deal with us?
Hey, Allison, let me ask you a question. What does it feel like to work for a convicted criminal, a liar, and an alleged molester?
Who was the man speaking off camera?
Ryan Clayton.
Was he asking you what it was like to work for a convicted felon, or was he asking Miss Moss what it was like to work for a convicted felon?
I believe that would be Miss Moss.
Okay, but you work for a convicted felon at Democracy Partners, right?
I don't actually. I don't work for Bob Kramer.
Okay, so Mr. Kramer's a convicted felon.
He is.
Okay. Let me play in the same exhibit number, which was 14009, at 6:27.
Have you been to the rape barn?
Howard?
What time it was?
Girl. Did you hear the statement, have you been to the rape bar?
I did.
Who said that?
That was me.
Okay. Did you eventually publish a video of these events?
I published a video of events that occurred earlier that evening.
So you edited out these parts where, these first two parts where you and Ryan Clayton were confronting Miss Moss. You didn't include
I object to your characterization of my actions.
Okay. Well, you're not a lawyer, so your lawyer's here, and he'll object for you. So what I'm asking you is...
Well, I disagree with your characterization of my actions.
Which part?
That I edited anything out.
Oh, okay. So what did you do that these parts didn't make the video?
Well, so it's called editing, and it's what your client engages in when he makes videos.
Okay.
Please lock the doors. Please lock the doors. Lock him, lock him, lock him. Don't let them in. Oh, come on, man.
How's it going, man?
The next, corner, can you drop me off, please?
Have you or any of your coworkers ever been sexually molested by James O'Keefe?
Is that Mr. Clayton again?
It is.
What do you think about working for an alleged serial molester? Does that...
Can I pay, please?
Did those last two statements make your published final version of this confrontation with Miss Moss?
I don't believe so.
Why not?
We chose not to publish any video from this.
Why not?
Because it wasn't necessary in the narrative that we were trying to produce.
Did you give any thought that if people saw you behaving like that, it would be adverse on you?
So she was the first thing is she talked about, she out of her mouth mentioned a rape barn. Out of her mouth. Not like, it wasn't like a guy even would say that. That's horrible. But she said that. She said, "Have you ever been to the rape barn?" And that was pretty intense, that she would be trolling another woman like that. I thought that was like, wow. I was like, where do you come? Where is that coming from? Like, a woman to woman, and she's legit talking about rape barns and just, I don't know. Maybe there's some backstory to it, but that was just one of the most unsettling things about it, and just about how she it just was intense. And then they talk about how the people they work for are like convicted felons, and just it's just a bunch of lies. But I mean, these are the type of people who make the news and write articles and stuff like that. That's one of the biggest things to come from this, is like, these are media people, and their behavior is outlandish, and they literally were chasing this reporter around, trying to just like scare her, harass her, jumping in the same vehicle as her, just all types of crazy stuff, and just yelling at her and just going crazy. But yeah, it's a crazy video, and I highly recommend people watch it because it's just like super outlandish. Next video. Government DeSantis leads the way. These kids do not need to be wearing masks. We need to let them be kids and let them act normally. So let's watch the video.
These kids do not need to be wearing these masks, okay? I'm sorry, they don't. We need to be able to let them be kids and let them act normally, and that's what should be the case in the fall throughout the school year. These kids...
I mean, this is crazy. It's not crazy. It's just like what needs to happen by now. I mean, Dr. Fauci's talking about next Mother's Day, maybe things will go back to normal. He's talking about a whole nother year of this insanity. He's just, I mean, this guy just feels like he's just a slave master at this point. He just rules America. He tells us when we can and when we can't do anything. And he's just like, let the country fall apart. I don't care. I'm Dr. Fauci. So, yeah. I give this guy props. Cool stuff, what he's doing. Keep on doing it, man. It says, President Trump releases message on the difference between Trump and Biden policies in the Middle East. President Trump's released a statement on the Israel-Palestinian conflict and the Joe Biden's horrible policies when compared to President Trump's peace-building initiatives. President Trump shared the obvious on the terrible anti-American and anti-peace policies of the Biden administration. When I was in office, we were known as the peace presidency because Israel's adversaries knew that the United States stood strongly with Israel and there would be swift retribution if Israel was attacked. Under Biden, the world is getting more violent and more unstable because Biden's weakness and lack of support for Israel is leading to new attacks on our allies. America must always stand with Israel and make clear that the Palestinians must end the, I guess this must be saying must end violence, terror and rocket attacks, and make clear the U.S. will always strongly support Israel's right to defend itself. Unbelievably, Democrats also continue to stand by crazed anti-American Rep. Ilhan Omar and others who savagely attacked Israel while they were under terrorist assault. And yeah, that's pretty intense. I mean, he's saying a lot of true statements, and this is crazy. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. This could be the beginning of World War III. Like, legitimately, like how this is like a flashpoint type activity. Like, everything is building to just like this huge, just climax. Because there's a video of them shooting like down hundreds of missiles with the Iron Dome system, their missile defense system, and it's incredible. So you're legit in war. They're in a legit war right now. And it's like right now, like as you watch this video, as we speak, there's a war going on, and it's just gonna get worse and worse. Like once deaths start happening, once atrocities start happening, it's gonna be a full-scale war with two countries that are legit side by side. So it's gonna be savage, and America's gonna have to pick a side or intervene some way, somehow. I believe so, just because of the support for Israel in America and other things. So it's not looking too good, guys. And it says, just in, I'm gonna play this video, but it is the most intense video possible. When you see the missiles going up and hitting each other and the defense system going above, it's like a video game, but it's so much more intense because you know it's not a video game. Like, this could literally be above America. This is legit, real modern warfare type stuff, and this is real. Like, there's no other way to say it. It's just there's no. It's too real. It's too real. So it says, just in, more than 130 rockets from Gaza intercepted by Iron Dome over Tel Aviv. And I'm going to play the video, but it says, we are now carrying out our promise, Hamas armed wing said in a statement. The Qassam brigades are launching their biggest rocket strikes against Tel Aviv and its suburbs with 130 rockets in response to the enemy's targeting of residential towers. Air raid sirens were heard around the city. And these are the videos that they play of it. I'm gonna play it in the background, but this is just intensity. It's just pure insanity. It's amazing. I mean, just to see, like, because they talked about the Iron Dome system for a long time. It's amazing to see it in action. Like, when it's in action, it's the most incredible. It's like, how do you even build something to do that? It really shows like the technological advancement of warfare. It's cool. I hate to admit it, it's cool, but it's also like super sick because it's like weapons of war and murder and death. But it's just like, wow, it's a marvel because humans created this. We're incredible, but at the same time, we should not be in a war. We should literally all be at peace. We should all literally be unified as one, and not even as one, but respected nations with respected boundaries and really just more diplomacy. So that's how the world should be. This is crazy. This is gonna lead to potentially millions of deaths if you really think about it. If this turns into World War III, this is gonna be tens of millions, potentially billions if nuclear weapons are involved. And I'm pretty sure Israel has nuclear weapons. So if they literally go down to the last leg, of course they're gonna pull out the nuke. And then what happens? The other countries that are surrounding with nuclear bombs are going to be launching them off. That's going to be a crazy World War III. And I mean, as soon as Biden gets in, the wars start. The Middle East is on fire again. It's really crazy. We've got one more. This one is pretty interesting. This is going to be on the super conspiracy side of things. But I don't think people are going to be too stray away from it too much. But it's Pentagon said aliens are demonic and wanted me to stop. Ex-Pentagon official exposes UFO secrets, claims aliens are in the ocean, visiting Earth weekly. So I'm going to play parts of this video. I'll play some parts of this video, and it definitely just get a grasp of what's going on. And now I'm going to talk about it. So I already watched this video, and this guy is talking, like, it sounds crazy, but it kind of makes sense. But these things are being declassified already right now, and since this stuff is coming out, and I've known about this for literally, it's been a decade or more that I've known about this UFO stuff. Roughly, yeah, it's been 10 years, and just the same information he's talking about, I heard 10 years ago. So none of this stuff is new. It's just that the government is actually, they're saying, the government is coming out and saying that everything is true. The government is actually, what is it called? They're acknowledging what's going on. They're acknowledging the projects are real. All of those weird space program projects with anti-gravity and interesting things like that are real. They have UFO files and UFO studies. They have a lot of recorded images and videos of UFOs, and they are basically declassifying to the public that there is a phenomenon. This is a legitimate government official acknowledgement of spacecraft that they don't know the origins of, and they do not think come from Earth. So he speaks of this, and he also speaks of why a alien race would want to even come to Earth if they're not coming from Earth, like if they haven't been here the whole time, is because creating something that creates a lot of energy, like a nuclear bomb, is very efficient for energy. So creating something that's stronger than a nuclear bomb, which is a hydrogen bomb, which is derived hydrogen comes, you can separate it from water. You would have infinite sources of energy, basically, if you could harness the power of a nuclear bomb or a hydrogen bomb, basically a hydrogen bomb. You would have humongous amounts of energy, and where you get the most hydrogen would be our oceans. So that's what he's saying. He's saying that that's a theory of why there would be aliens here. So this video is crazy. I think aliens are real. No one really knows exactly what their purpose is. But I believe they're in contact with various governments, like on a communication basis, and we should definitely be more wary of things like this. So this is a great way to end the podcast. Please go watch this video and expand your mind. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. Please watch the other videos, and please check out the social media as well. Everything is coming along pretty well. I'm soon gonna have like a website or something for merch and things like that. But go get the merch as well, guys. Hit me up in my email, and continue to stay informed and just check what's out there. The world is much more vast than people lead on. It is not as dense as the everyday life, the mundane, the structured existence. The universe is an amazing place filled with wonder, and it is dimensional as well. So there is different possibilities that we sometimes sense, but we don't understand how to integrate into our perception. So what I'm trying to say is that train yourself to expand your mind so that you can be more aware of these amazing things that are in the universe, because this played out warfare, this played out societal strife, this happened over eons to how many people? How many times has it been a super crazy government over a lot of people, and the people are going through a lot of stress, turmoil, warfare, and the people at the top they just live a great life. How long has that been happening? It's been happening for so long, and I think people are just like, this is how it is. Like a dog is just like, I'm just owned. And I don't believe in that. Well, I mean, I understand the relationship of a dog and an animal, but a human to human rate, like how they relationship, it shouldn't be like that, because the government now, it's just too much oppression. So expand your mind with things like this, because it's not even a conspiracy at this point. It's just like, when are they going to release more information, and why aren't there more hearings and Congress talking about it? So that's the end.